If you're stuck at $100,000 or less in real estate, this video is for you. What's up, everybody? My name is Henry Eisenstein, and if you don't know who I am, I've been a part of over $400 million worth of real estate transactions, and I'm only 28 years old. And again, in this video, it is specifically tailored to the individuals who are listening who have made less than $100,000 a year, and you're wondering why, right? You're stuck. In this video, it's going to be literally everything, the mistakes that I made and the shift that I made around 4 or 5 different key points to make sure that you blow past that $100,000 mark. Point number 1 is around lead generation. Because everyone always wonders in the real estate space, how do I make more money? Well, here's the thing. Most people think, if you ask yourself, what business are you in? Let me ask you right now, what business are you in? And if you say the real estate business or anything other than the lead generation business, you're not right? So the lead generation business is the only business that you need to be in. You need to be generating leads 24/7, 365, and that will fuel your business. So let me tell you the mistake I made, and then I'll show you how I fixed it. So the mistake I made when it came around generating leads. For the first year and a half of my business, where I was really struggling, I couldn't even make more than $40,000 in the first few years of my business. This was specifically because I wasn't generating any leads. It wasn't my focus. It was the last thing on my mind was generating leads. I was all in everything else that has to do with this business. If I literally could do anything besides make my phone calls, I was thrilled. Anything I could do that had nothing to do with lead generation, I was so happy because I did not want to do that work at all. I didn't like making phone calls. I didn't want to call people, didn't want to prospect. I did not want to do that. The mistake I made was not making lead generation a priority, which affected my income drastically. And I want to share something with you. Within the first 2 years of my business, once I got back into it and made lead generation a priority, I made over $600,000 within 2 years. To really explain to you how much I didn't want to prospect, I literally told my mentor, who told me to prospect and lead generate, I would rather open a kiosk at the mall instead of go out and prospect. I'd rather just sit at a kiosk all day long at the mall and start conversations. That makes no sense, people, okay? What I want to share with you, though, is that the shift that I made is that when I got back in the business, again, a number of years ago, when I got back in the business and I made lead generation the only priority, it was like number 1 on the list, number 1, 2, and 3, okay? It was just lead generation. I made over $1 million in less than 24 months. So again, this is a key thing, the number 1 thing. If you are not making over $100,000, there's only so many reasons why, people. And number 1 is probably because you're not making lead generation a priority, number 1, 2, and 3 in your business. Point number 2, you are not making networking and building a referral-based business anywhere near a priority, right? So you got lead generation, and part of that lead generation is now going to be networking and building a referral-based business, right? So generating leads from referrals is also lead generation, right? I'm not saying it isn't. Above and beyond just making your calls, right? As, cold calling around doing, again, I preach this stuff nonstop around cold calling, but it is also building now a network of individuals who can refer you business, okay? So I was just having a call with my students, which, by the way, if you think you have what it takes to double or triple your business and to do all that is needed to be done, right, and you want to be a part of an elite group of individuals who are doing exactly that every year, you need to schedule a phone call in the description down below, and we'll see if you're the right fit, okay? One of the things we were talking about today was how many people do you plan on meeting each and every single week, and how are you going to hold yourself accountable to doing so? Who do those people look like? How are you going to do it? Because around networking, if you're not constantly adding to your network each and every single week, that means your network is dying. I want you to understand. Your business and or your network is either growing or it's dying. So there's no gray area.
Well, I haven't networked in a little while.
Guys, then your network is dying. So every week, in a majority of every day, I spend asking my professional partners, who do you know who I can support? Who other professionals do you think I should get in touch with? Who is the most successful person in your network that I feel like, that would be a great person for my podcast? Who can I connect with? Who can I connect with? Who can I connect with? Massive thing you need to shift in your business is blowing up your network. Your network has only gotten you where you are today, and if you want to go to where you want to be in the future, your network will look drastically different, I promise. So when both those things shifted, and I made both those things a priority, wow, I magically started making a ton of money fairly quickly. Point number 3, guys, adjust your goals. So if you're looking to make $100,000, I'm going to be real blunt. If you shoot for 100 grand, the odds of you making 100 grand are probably not likely. I'm a huge fan of let's double or triple that number and aim and do the actions that are needed to do double or triple that number. So if you shoot for 300 or 200, you're most likely going to hit 100, 150, maybe 200 grand. That's what I'm saying. Shoot for a larger number, and it's going to be okay wherever you end up, right? Because again, if you're doing the actions on a daily basis or weekly basis, monthly basis, in order to make 300, at a worst case scenario, you're probably going to make 100, 150. And again, we also have something called taxes. What I'm here to share with you is that if you're only going to generate $100,000 in gross commissions, minus your broker fee, minus other fees, minus your cost of doing business, you're probably only making 40, 50, 60 grand. You're probably going to be wondering, why can't I make $100,000? Well, your goal is too small. So I'll give you an example. My very first year in real estate, I shot for $100,000. Wasn't making any phone calls and I wasn't making networking a priority. And I only made like 29.5 grand in my first 12 months in real estate. And then when I got back in the business, I said my first year, I'm going to generate $250,000. That was my first year's goal. Guess what? I didn't make 250. I made 137 grand my very first year in real estate. And back in the business, right? So, and guess what? I made lead generation a priority and I made networking a priority. And that was the only two things I focused on all day long, 24/7, 365. And I made over 100 grand in my very first year back in the business. And again, this was after 2 years of failure. Quit the business for a couple months and got back in the business. And my first year back, I made 137 grand. So again, if you want to make more than $100,000 a year, make those two first things a priority, your lead generation and your networking, and adjust your goals. So instead of shooting for 100, shoot for 250, 300, 200, whatever it is, but way more than 100 grand. Because again, after all costs that are associated with being a real estate agent, not just the marketing and the softwares and all that kind of stuff, but your broker fee, which is a very heavy cost, it's very hard to make 100 grand if you only shoot for 100 grand. So adjust your goals. Point number next, adjust your environment. So the reason why we say adjust your environment is because if you are surrounded with individuals who are not going anywhere, okay, this is individuals who don't work a lot, people who are home a lot, watching those TV shows late at night, wasting their time doing things that don't matter. This is like really hard stuff to possibly hear maybe because you might be that person. I was that person in my career at the very beginning. I spent a lot of time with individuals who are not making a lot of money. The closest people you spend the most time with are all, not in great shape. You're probably going to be the next, right? Like, it's just our association is who we become. Your environment is who we become. So if you're really questioning why you are making the money you're making, one key thing you can do is shift your environment. Number one, stop spending time with the current environment or limit the time you're spending with your current environment, okay? What that is going to allow you to do is give you more time back in your life to then spend time on lead generation, spend time on networking, right? Spending time on self-development, like videos like this, so you can watch better content. And now what's going to do is that this is going to shift your mindset. And now when you're networking, you're going to try to be spending time with better people who are a little bit more successful, people who make a few hundred grand a year, a few million a year, right? Association changes you. The 5 people you spend the most time with are all rich and successful. You're probably going to be the next. If you're spending time with your core friend group, works out all the time or constantly going out running, you're probably also going to be into fitness, right? That's probably what happens, right? That's why association and your environment is so powerful. So again, if you're truly wondering, well, Henry, I'm doing all the lead gen, I'm doing the networking, and I'm setting some big goals, but I'm still not changing, and nothing's changing in my business. Well, then you need to look at your environment. If your environment is in a struggling place, right, if the people around you are all struggling, then guess what? You're probably going to be the next person. My intention every year is that by the end of the year, my environment looks drastically different. I want my environment to constantly be changing, constantly be upgrading. And by the way, a lot of the people that I network with are upgrading. It's not like I'm just leaving those people alone. Hi, bye. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm saying, hey, I'm looking for people who want to grow and who are up to big things. And if you are up to big things, I want to be networking with you, and we're going to grow together. What's going to happen is that you guys are going to grow together. I know people, people that I've been networking with for years who are now still in my life today because they're making substantially more money, like I'm making substantially more money. Our lives have elevated over the past few years together. We're super close. We've built in the business together. This happens frequently if you're out there networking with the right people. Point number 5, all of these points need to be drastically adjusted every 90 days. So the difference between an average earner and an exceptional earner, okay, in the real estate business is that tying with the goals is that you need to be constantly adjusting every 90 days. Only raising targets, not lowering the target. Like, oh, I'm shooting for 300 grand and I'm way off. Okay, well, you have 90 days from today to course correct, and you're gonna adjust the goal. Now the number is 330. Go up by 10%. Now redo your numbers and say, okay, well, if I wanna hit 330 instead of 300 now, I gotta increase my numbers by 10% across the board. The next 90 days, now you're gonna increase it by 10% again. And the reason why I do this is because I want you to start thinking bigger, because it's going to adjust your mindset. Because if you are stuck at $100,000 a year, that means you have a financial thermostat that's stuck at X degrees. You're in an 80 degree because you're making 80 grand a year. If you're stuck at $1 million a year, it can be the same thing. You can be stuck at $1 million a year because you're a million dollar degreer, right? Like that's where your thermostat is comfortable. The only way to level up is by enhancing those goals and constantly shooting for higher and higher targets. I know it sounds crazy to be like, well, again, I shot for 200 this year. I'm behind on my goals right now, and you're telling me to increase my goal? Yes, I am, because what that should push you to do is increase your what? I hope you said action. Because it should increase your actions, because if you increase your action, your output, the input is going to be substantially higher, and it is every single time. It obviously just takes time in this business because, again, the sales cycle is fairly long, but again, if you're not hitting $100,000, you need to be constantly shifting, constantly adapting your goals, and every 90 days adjust, every 90 days adjust, every 90 days adjust, and ideally, it's, again, this is how it should be, increasing the goal 10%, increasing the output by 10%. My students hear me all the time say, double down on your calls. This is the best time to double down on your calls. You should be making more calls this week than you did last week. If you made, again, I'm talking conversations because I hate when people talk by calls. Let's just say conversations. If you had 100 conversations last week, which is only like 20 a day, 20 conversations a day, 100 conversations last week, then this week it should be 110. And then next week it should be 120. And then the next week it should be 130. You should be constantly trying to put yourself out of business because if you don't, your competition will. It's just how the real estate market works. I'm telling you, if you're not constantly improving and adjusting your actions, you're going to be the people who are barely surviving instead of the group that is massively thriving. Don't be a part of the group that's just surviving. Be a part of the group that is massively thriving. And the only way to do that is to increase your actions and double down on each of the points I said to you. Double down on your lead gen, double down on the network, double down on your goals, double down in your environment, and I assure you, your success is inevitable. By the way, if you love this video and you want to have even more of me, right, then you should be looking in the description down below for all the amazing downloadable content for free, yes, for free, as well as if you think you have what it takes, you can also schedule a call with my team and for my coaching program down in the description down below. Other than that, guys, love you so very much, and I'll see you soon. Take care.